I hold two things sacred, art and nature. In Diego Rivera's extraordinary mural of industry, he traces the historic changes between our relationship to commerce and our relationship to nature. From Aztecs to the automobile, there are moments in history when everything changes. This is one of those moments. And yeah, this is what it feels like. We're overwhelmed, we don't know where to look, we're not sure what to do, but we can still make real progress. We can remake an unthrowaway world, like we used to have. Before plastic, every container, every resource was valuable. Reuse was the way of life. And when earlier civilizations used up all their resources, like the Mayans or the Mesopotamians, or like we're doing today, they disappeared. Today's single-use economy is a suicide machine, and tinkering around the edges is not going to do the trick. The new reuse infrastructure we build today for packaging will enable reuse for critical minerals, textiles, even healthcare delivery. Reuse is a solution commensurate with the gravity of the waste, plastic, and climate crises. So how does it work? Well, you buy a cup of coffee in a reusable cup like these. Cups are just an example because reusable packaging can be for almost any single-use product, and this becomes an asset instead of waste. So I just moved your cup from the debit side of your ledger to a credit. This is a whole new business model that will serve us not just packaging, but for all industrial, or much industrial output. So how does it work? You had your coffee, it was delicious, you put it in a reverse vending machine like this high-tech one on the left, or a low-tech one on the right. They both work perfectly, and AI is then doing a lot of the inspecting and sorting that's needed for reuse. And then it goes into a beautiful washing machine like this one, which is incredibly efficient. It uses 70% less water than single-use packaging. And a reminder that recycling is still single-use. If it's a consumer good, it needs to get refilled like this. And then the clean packaging is returned to the point of sale. And then finally, you get your next cup of coffee. No new extraction, no new manufacturing, no long supply chain, and no carrying around a dirty cup or any other package, because there are reuse bins everywhere. And there are new reuse industry standards that prohibit PFAS and the other most pernicious chemical categories from reusable packaging. Reuse is the embodiment of the circular economy. So I'm at MIT, I have to do some numbers, right? 5.3% of global emissions come from plastic. And 40% of plastic is used for packaging. And single-use packaging is the fastest growing piece of plastic demand. Imagine. But for every reuse system we put in place, we can eliminate up to 90% of single-use packaging production. So when we scale reuse systems, we are deploying a major climate solution. On every count, recycling and composting don't come close. They are both single-use because they both require remanufacturing of the package. But this is probably the number you're going to remember most. If we actually value petroleum as a precious commodity, we would never use it for anything that has just 5 minutes of use, like this cup. Never. 500 billion cups are thrown away every year, just cups. But reuse works for almost all single-use packaging. This is throwing away our world for 5 minutes of use. Call me crazy, but this is insane. So let's just fix it, okay? Okay? Okay. So we're going to go through a travelogue of reuse around the world. So pizza in Colombia, lunch in Indonesia, ball game in the Netherlands and the US, a grocery store in the Netherlands, McDonald's in France, a wine bar in the US, a deli counter in Canada, and coffee in Hong Kong. So why do we think reuse is all of a sudden having its day? Well, like this Kandinsky painting, it's very hard to read the signals for even the sharpest business people, from tariffs, fragile supply chains, public concern about plastic, and long-term capital investments that are no longer fit for purpose. Reuse untangles many of these conflicting forces. But unlikely allies are actively working to scale reuse. There is a place for you at this table. Please pull up a chair, and here is who you'll meet. Well, let's start with music and sports. Always a good place to start. The largest concert promoters in the world are bringing reuse to arenas and stadiums like this one in Las Vegas, but around the world. There's Pepsi at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. MasterCard has developed seamless point-of-sale infrastructure, and Avery Dennison is innovating tracking and labeling for reuse everywhere. But a surprising thing is that NGOs are de-risking the whole enterprise. Break Free from Plastic is 3,000 NGOs working under one umbrella to work on plastic in a variety of ways. PR3, the organization I co-founded 6 years ago, has assembled 80 leaders from multinationals to environmental justice advocates who are crafting the standards for the new reuse industry. And the Climate Bonds Initiative is right now working to structure the first reuse bond for municipal waste. This will be a brand new category and the first reuse bond for municipal waste infrastructure. And it is a practical financing mechanism that can become a dominant pillar of 21st century commerce. That's a big thing. This is like system change. And who do you think is paying the early bills? Well, philanthropy, for one. 17 foundations work together under the Plastic Solutions Fund to both support those raising the problems of plastic and those raising the solutions. And what about governments? Canada is supporting stadium deployment and standards development. The government of Indonesia has just launched a reuse playbook with support from the Asia Development Bank and the Global Environment Fund of the UN. And the EU is just putting out new packaging regulations that incentivize reuse. But you know what other government is working on reuse? This one. My office received this letter from Zero Waste Ukraine in 2024. Our government is developing a packaging law, and we are trying to promote reuse. Thank you for your incredible work, and is there a possibility for translation? Best wishes from Ukraine. Obviously, after we stopped crying, we wrote back yes. Imagine having the strength to imagine the future in the midst of such horror. In Ukraine, I think that hope is an act of great heroism. But it takes another kind of courage to start a new business. The thousands of reuse entrepreneurs and the friends and families that originally funded them work the hours we know it takes to bring a new product to market. These pioneers are creating the unthrowaway world. All of these unlikely allies together are delivering the next historic change when we reconnect our relationship to nature with our relationship to commerce. Reuse is now a value investment in a rapidly growing industry, and the roots of a new system are becoming visible. businesses, environmental and social activists, scientists, governments, investors, philanthropists. All of us need to be at this table together. This radical collaboration is the only way we will deliver the world we love intact to those we love in the future. I urge each of you to work with those of us determined to recreate the unthrowaway world. Come find the Global Reuse Alliance and join us. Thank you.